What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a top 10 for King's X brought to us by our friend and brand new patron, Slade Said. Thank you, Slade Said. Appreciate you. Looking forward to this list. I don't know anything from King's X. Appreciate all the patrons. Check out our Patreon link below if you'd like to support us in any way. Let's get into this list a little bit, but first, we always want to know what the patron has to say. And so Slade Said, which is the name he goes by, so it's going to sound like Slade Said every time, but Slade said, I have compiled a sort of top 10 list for one of my all-time favorite bands, King's X. I write sort of in quotes, as really there are at least 20 other songs I could have chosen instead, and the list would have been just as good as the one I went with. And that's the thing, guys. When the patrons make these top 10 lists, it's so difficult if you've never made one. It's so hard. So much stuff you got to leave off. Anyway, King's X is a band in which, for some very weird reason, has never become a major act, despite the fact that they, on paper, tick all the boxes for becoming one of the biggest bands ever. They are typically described as the heavy metal version of the Beatles, or the bridge between the Beatles and Metallica or Black Sabbath. So they have excellent songs, fantastic harmonies, heavy guitars, great singers and musicianship, and a lot of experimentation to keep things interesting, while never forgetting about the great melody and nice groove. They are very much a musician's band, as they have a lot of respect in the rock and metal industry. Example, Pearl Jam bass player Jeff Ament once said that King's X invented grunge, but still they're mostly a somewhat big underground act after 12 studio albums. A new album's on its way very soon, first one since 2008. Some short facts on the band. King's X is a trio from Houston, Texas. Now, I found they originally started in Springfield, Missouri in 1979, but by the time they started getting record contracts, they were in Houston. All three members have been members since the first studio album in 1988 until now, and that is quite impressive. You got Doug Pinnick, or as he prefers, lowercase d with a U. So I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Doug? I don't know, but he's going to be Doug to me, is the bass player and main vocalist, although all three members of the band take on lead vocals. Ty Tabor is the guitarist and second lead vocalist. Jerry Gaskill is a drummer and occasional lead singer. King's X is known to have been a Christian band, although not in the Stryper way, where they preach their belief and use it a lot in the marketing branding of the band. However, this might have been a factor holding them back, as some people in the metal community may have discarded them purely based on this. Today, only Ty Tabor describes himself as a Christian, so the Christian tag is definitely not representing the band these days. Slade said in parentheses, not that I care if they're a Christian or not. I don't either. I'll just say I am a Christian, so I do care if they're a Christian or not. I don't care if their music is Christian or not. And Slade said, I will say that I will probably get some flack from the King's X fan base for not including what is probably the closest they ever got to an actual hit, the song Over My Head from the Gretchen Goes to Nebraska album. But it's never been one of my favorites, as I don't really like the chorus, while the groove in the song is fantastic, admittedly. I just did a little other research. King's X was ranked number 83 on VH1's 100 Greatest Artists of Hard Rock. Throughout their major label career, they've secured opening slots on arena tours, including opening for bands like Cheap Trick, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Scorpions, Pearl Jam, and Motley Crue, as well as the Woodstock 94 Festival. The spiritual nature of the band's lyrics, particularly on their first 4 albums, is what made them be known as a Christian band. King's X have also been cited as an influence or inspiration to numerous acts, such as the aforementioned Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and one of my favorites, the Smashing Pumpkins. So, believe it or not, I've heard the name. I don't know that I've ever heard a King's X song unless somebody brought them on one of our live streams, which we have every Wednesday and Friday. Little shameless plug there. It just worked out. Follow the Twitch link below. Let's dive into this list. We'll kick this thing off at number 10 with Pray, off the album 15 in 2008. Slade said lead vocals by Doug. It's the lead track from their latest album, but that's 2008 at the time of recording this. And a good groove-based song to start the list. I could not find a lot of research on most of these songs, but Slade Said gave me some info on all of them. As always, I'll have the lyrics pulled up, and the music will not be in the video, but check out the link below and you'll be able to follow along. Thanks again, Slade Said. Looking forward to this one. Pray, a nice introduction for me to King's X. It took me a little while to get used to Doug's vocals. He has a unique voice that I think has to grow on you, but as the song went on, I started getting used to it. I think the instrumentation obviously is fantastic. The guitar work, the drumming on here is great with Jerry Gaskill, and the bass work by Doug, and obviously Ty Tabor's guitar in here is fantastic. And it's a song just, it's got all Christianity tenets in here, except for one mention to Allah. Otherwise, it's all Christianity tenets. But you know, it's got a lot of biblical allusions. If you feel that you what you think is true. If you found peace deep inside of you, if your faith made a mountain move for you, then don't forget to pray for me. Hear me now, the way he says that. If you think that Jesus has saved you, Mother Mary is waiting there for you. If you think that God has spoke to you, then don't forget to pray for me. Hear me now. And so he's just asking you, like, pray for me. If you think you're better off than I am, pray for me. If you think you're going to live in the promised land again, and Moses brought you out of Pharaoh's hand, pray for me. So instrumentation wise, it just really hammers, man. I really enjoyed that. I thought lyrically it was nice. A really good introduction. Let's move on to song number 9. We have Goldilocks. It's on the album Out of the Silent Planet. It's their 1998 debut. Slade said, lead vocals by Doug. It was the band's first single, a ballad, and one of the most beloved songs by the King's X community. It was re-recorded for the Manic Moonlight album. Very much the same version, but I will go for the original version from their debut album. Always like that. Let's check it out. Goldilocks, King's X. I might have said in the intro to this song, it's from 1988, of course, on the debut. I just got to think about it. I think I might have said that, but my point to that is it's 20 years before our first track, Pray, and you can tell it in Doug's voice. It's much crisper. I think 20 years takes a toll on you. Maybe it's just the way that Pray was arranged, but the guitar work on here, it's got that nice 1988 solo that you were going to get back in the day by Ty on there, so that was a nice one. Really enjoyed it. The longer it went, the more I liked it. Just a really good sound to it. You know, I look at you and I know who you are. You're just a little bit too far from my home, but please don't get me wrong. Even though it's been long, I hope I never sing my last song without someone, and I got to know your name and I must know who you are. Just a good track, man. Just a good, I mean, 1988, I was a junior/senior in high school. That kind of music here takes me back to that time. Now we're going to skip ahead just a couple years to 1990. Their third album, Faith, Hope, and Love. We got the track It's Love. Slade said lead vocals by Ty. So we get different lead vocals here. The first single from this album, and I also found it's the band's highest charting single, peaking at number 6 on the mainstream rock charts in 1990. The song is much noted for its Beatles-like sound. That's what I found in the research. Looking forward to it. Well, Ty Tabor absolutely took this song over, right? He's on lead vocals, the first one on our list where he's on lead vocals, but he just shreds this guitar. I don't really see the Beatles sound like in this. I mean, I get the harmonies. The harmonies are really nice. Different sounding song. All 3 of these songs so far show a lot of diversity in this band, but you know, this one's just talking about it. It's love that holds everything together. I mean, I sit on the beach, feeling the wind, feeling your hand, and there's a ship on the ocean. I can't decide if I like it. It's love that holds it all together. I won't kill you by trying to sing that part, but I just had to let you know that it's love that's holding back the weather, and the same will let it go. And you know, there's not a lot of lyrics to this thing, but it's just the way that Ty delivers it with those harmonies, with the instrumentation. It all just works together. What a fantastic song, and a great choice at number 8 by Slade Said. Now we're up to number 7, Summerland, off the Gretchen Goes to Nebraska album in 1989, their second album. Slade said this was a single. Slade also said, fun fact about the album. The album title was something the band came up with when they discussed what the most hilarious album title could be, because I was wondering, like, what in the world is with this thing? Let's check out Summerland. I like the outro that it gets a little crescendo and you think it's over, but then Ty busts you out with a nice little riff those last 15, 20 seconds. The song itself, not a lot to it. Like, it has a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus. Let me go back to verse 1 and then the first chorus. Not a lot of lyrics to it, but Doug did explain what the song's about. He said Ty wrote that song. He told me he wrote it about Jackson, Mississippi. He had gone home for the holidays and realized that it was really, how do you want to talk about the South in a nice way? This is, by the way, this is Doug saying this, not me, okay? Saying sort of behind it, or sort of racist, or just that whole mentality. It's not that the whole South is like that, but you can say that country redneck, uninformed type of people. He was around that kind of thing and it made him feel weird. He loved this place, but he realizes that is who they are, and that's who they'll always be. I have some people I know who are not in the Deep South like that at all, who are exactly the same way. It's just kind of how they've always been, and it's kind of a generational thing. But the highlight of this song is just the soundscape, right? That Summerland just sticks in your head. Really enjoyed that one. We're already up to number 6. We're almost halfway done with A Box off the Ear Candy album in 1996. It was their 6th album. Slade Said, lead vocals by Doug, a balladish song. A Box is one of many great songs from their Ear Candy album, which is probably their most accessible and poppy album. For that reason, the fan base is mixed on how they regard the album. I love it, Slade said. A box. There's no room inside a box. So that really sticks in here. It's about depression, man. The way I read it. Lonely days will come and go. Nothing new unless you're bold. Revolution number 19. Maybe it'll throw out the Revolution number 9 off the Beatles' White Album. Brand new wave of anger. Stain yourself with pumpkin pie. Liquid tattoo. I got mine. Don't forget forgetfulness. Call it destruction. Then that there is no room inside a box. Way down in the depress. Colder than the coldest. Yes, we know about loneliness. Others to another. Just a place to run and hide. Just a place to free your mind. Just a place to break the chains and find whatever remains. And then just goes into that over and over again for 5 different verses. There is no room inside a box. And it just sticks in your head and done so well. And then the instrumentation on the outro. Just a great soundscape that really pulls you in. I think that the instrumentation fits the lyricism of the song just perfectly. And I like that one a lot. Now we're up to the top half of this list. As you see below, we got Pretend off the Dog Man album, their 5th album in 1994. So far, Slade said has done a fantastic job of mixing in all the different albums to kind of give us an idea of the progression and where King's X are at any given time in their career. Slade said lead vocals by Doug, an incredibly well-produced album. Dog Man is Minnie's favorite King X album. I still hold a couple others in high regard personally, he says. The title song could easily have been my selection for this top 10, but I believe that Pretend just edges it. Pretend, staying with the diversity of this list, man. We're 6 songs in. I have no idea. At the end of this, I always pick 3 favorites. I have no idea what I'm going to pick. All these songs I like in different ways. This is the most rock / even a little grungy. It's not big time grunge, but of the songs we've had so far, which it fits right in that time period. But he's basically talking about the fact that his relationship went south, but you know, he takes long walks and thinks about things, and he pretends. So I'm sure he pretends everything's all right. Sometimes that's the best way to cope with things in our mind, to just pretend like it's okay, because then I wonder, how did I get it wrong? It doesn't matter now, and I pretend. I've come to realize there's nothing I can lose, so I control myself. Nothing else to do. I'll just remember when it comes around again. I'd rather be alone. I won't get hurt again. So apparently this girl, I'm going to assume, has done a number on him. But that I Pretend, with the drumming coming in from Jerry, obviously Ty's guitar work is fantastic. And you know, the bass work on here by Doug is fine as well. But just a song that, the longer it went on, the more I liked it, the more it just stuck in my head. And they're very good at the end of their songs of repeating their choruses over and over, and then a nice little instrumental outro. And that makes those things stick in your head. It's a really nice technique. Let's see what we got at number 4. Off the self-titled album, King's X, their 4th album in 1992, we got Not Just for the Dead. Slade said lead vocals by Doug with sitar, John Lennon-style vocal filtering, and Beatlesque harmonies. The Beatles' inspiration shines through on this excellent song. All right. That's a big buildup. Not Just for the Dead. There's a lot going on in this song. Just the outro is 1.5 minutes long, basically. Just some sitar and some other stuff going a little bit wild. I really, the first verse definitely used a lot of Lennon-like vocal treatment on it. I can see, this is from the 4th album, right? And I'd read at the start, the first 4 albums are where they kind of got that Christian, whether they wanted it or not, label. I could see on this song, big time, Not Just for the Dead. I find it hard some days to remember. I find it hard some days to forget. And some days I give everything within me. What's the little Harrison shout out there? And some days I don't give a bit. Will it be? It will absolutely be. Can you see with the eyes that God gave me? Are you free from the chains that fall on me? Well, it's not just something deep inside my head. It's not just for the dead. So I'm thinking he's talking about the love of Christ or his spirituality. It's not just something that you achieve when you're dead, but you have it while you're alive. Because he's talking about walking in a smog that's all around me, and through it somehow life lives too. Before I let it all just overwhelm me, I think of something good in you. So I think he's thinking of his God, but it could be a girl. It could be however you want to interpret this thing, but very sophisticated production-wise, right? With the sitar, with the vocal treatment, and just a lot of different things going on in this one. Enjoyed it. Now we're going to go up to number 3. So as you see below, we have Out of the Silent Planet, the song, not the album. I had to double check that because we got something from that album coming up. Off the Gretchen Goes to Nebraska album, remember their 2nd album in 1989. Slade said, shared vocals but lead by Doug. The opening track on the 2nd album was confusingly named like the album title of the debut. I do not know if it was supposed to have been included on that album or why it appears here, But anyway, so I mean, that explains it. It's a great song, which, like Not Just for the Dead, includes sitar and lots of Beatle inspiration. I found supposedly it's named for the C.S. Lewis sci-fi book of the same name, Out of the Silent Planet. It's the band's ode to the Christian doctrine of Word being made flesh. God speaks, and Jesus Christ, his son, is the story he tells. So let's check it out and find out. Out of the Silent Planet definitely, I think, has the religious overtones. Perfect peace, mountains robed in glory, coming into view. Father speaks, the Son becomes the story, essence of all true. I saw what cannot be seen. She spoke to me. Take what you've learned, set it free. See what you'll see. And then just the flowing power, waterfall of wisdom. The harmonies in here and kind of the almost anthemic in some parts, but then just strips way back and goes on these instrumental runs. I mentioned Jerry Gaskell's drumming on here is fantastic. I mentioned it during the reaction. The sitar is a nice little added thing in here. I'm assuming that's Ty playing it, but I couldn't find where. I found on another album he plays the dulcimer and some other things, so I would bet it's him, but don't hold me to that. I'm sure you King's X fans know who it is. This song was fine for me. It's not going to be one of my favorites, but I can see why that you picked it, Slade said, because it has so much going on in the song. It's quite impressive. Now we're up to the number 2 track. We have Wonder off the album Out of the Silent Planet, the debut in 1988. Slade says, least vocals by Doug. The song is not rated by many as one of their best, but to me it is. It was never released as a single to my knowledge. It's one of their deep tracks for sure, but I love every second of it. Wonder. So this song is off the debut in 1988, but I'll tell you what, listening to it, this song would have been comfortable in 1974, and I mean that in a good way. It just has that sound to it, man. Much harder and rocking, much more rocking in this one than a lot of the other ones. The drumming in is fantastic, the guitar work, and Doug's vocals just have that grand lead vocalist style of, you know, the mid 70s or of the heavy metal guys that were rocking things in the mid 80s. So I get that too. But this is war, this is peace, quiet roars of silent screams. It makes me think, it makes me deal with the situation. How do I feel? There's a wall between us, a partition of sorts, and it makes me wonder. Should I go to the front? Should I go to the back? This is church, this is state, rock and roll, amazing grace. So just kind of deciding what, it's kind of like he's coming to a moment where he's going, where am I going to go with this? It's going to go one way or the other, but I have to make a decision. And you kind of feel it with the instrumentation ramped up in there. Once again, the drumming, the guitar work, all of it is fantastic. Enjoyed that one. Now we're going to go to number 1. We have Pleiades. And yes, I did have to look up how exactly to say that without butchering it. Not a big surprise for most of you guys who watch this channel. Got to get that pronunciation down. Not always the easiest thing to do. It's from the Gretchen Goes to Nebraska album. Remember that second album in 1989. Slade said there can only be one number 1. And it's always been this song for me, lead vocals by Ty. I have read that he credits the song as being the genesis of the King's X sound when he presented the demo to the other members of the band some years before they recorded it. I can tell why he would say that. Pure Beatles-like harmonies, a lovely melody, 60s rock psychedelia, a heavy riff. It's all there in its glory. It doesn't get much better than this. Wow, that is that's quite the build-up. And I found name for the open star cluster Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters. What a build-up. It's been a great list. Let's check out number 1. There you have it, the number 1, Pleiades. I can see why Slade said has this at number 1. It's just really that quote musical journey, right? There's not a lot of lyricism to it. It's more about, it really has that heavy metal guitar riff, but it has a bunch of other stuff mixed in. Even the ending of it there sounds definitely like it should be something that's on a Beatles album for sure. The drumming was fantastic, and you just kind of get, I mean, this has been quoted, you know, by Ty himself as saying this was kind of the genesis for their sound. The heavy metal guitar riff was a thing I think that kept reappearing in there, because when I go over this overall list, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I don't see just the total heavy metalness to this group, but I know that it's probably the songs that Slade said picked out of it, but I do see it in this one along with a whole lot of other things. So now we come up to that difficult part where I got to pick my 3 favorite tracks. I really did like all these songs. I'm going to go with It's Love, the number 8 song, vocals by Ty on that one. I'm going to go with A Box, which Slade said had at number 6. And I guess I'm going to go with Pretend at number 5. I really like that one. Had that more grungish hard rock sound, but I really did like all of these. So there's going to be my 3 faves. Hey, I enjoyed King's X. Someone I didn't know anything about. What a great list. I'm going to go check out some of these albums. I guess I'll start from the beginning and see how they how they journey through, but be looking for that new album, which is supposed to be out sometime this year. Once again, thank you, Slade Set. Great first offering on the channel from you. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And until next time, I will see you.